What is going on, everybody? Ooh, my camera up. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. On today's episode, guys, we are talking waiver wire. It is going to be another shit show week, and we'll end it with some keep and cut players at the end here. So, as always, let me introduce my boy, Coach Jibs, to the show. What's going on, Jibs?
Doing well. Definitely stuffed over this Thanksgiving weekend, but week was it 12 now? Week 12, yeah, it didn't treat me right. So definitely got to get on that rebound and trying to salvage some seasons. But other than that, I'm just trying to finish the season strong and have fun, of course.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think week 12 was that nice to me either. I needed some important wins and unfortunately didn't get them in certain places. But again, it's a long season still. And I mean, long season, it's at least 2 more weeks for some people. Some people maybe start early, so maybe some people start a little later. But yeah, the season is coming to a close, unfortunately, but doesn't stop us from being able to pick up some players because there's some big news, which involves some big players being picked up, hopefully, for you. So let's start at the top of the news, guys. So some bunch of injuries to some pretty high-power players in fantasy. Deebo Samuel's with a groin injury. He's likely to miss a little time. I mean, there's a shot he still plays next week, or this coming week, but there's a shot he might miss. Randall Cobb left with a groin injury before he dominated before that. Dalvin Cook, this is big. He was carted off with a shoulder injury, and he was carted off, which was definitely really interesting here. And there was definitely a lot of reports today about he tore his labrum, and it's a pretty bad shoulder injury, shoulder sprain. Dislocated shoulder, I'm sorry. Something similar to they had in 2019, which caused them to miss the final 2 games of the season until the Vikings went into the playoffs that year. I just saw a report that it's not a torn labrum, it's just dislocated. So we really don't know just yet. I'm sure before week's end we'll know, but that kind of sucks there. Let's see. This is another big one. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey sprained ankle in a walking boot after the game, even though his coach said he could have probably came back and played the game if he needed to. But now he's out on the IR for the rest of the season here. At this point, Jibs, do you, in terms of dynasty, I mean, is it scary to want to own these 2 guys moving forward with these injuries continuing to pop up for both guys like Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey?
I'm still intrigued to own them because they're obviously high caliber players. For McCaffrey's standpoint, I know it's been 3 pretty much straight years of him just being in and out the lineup, and I know that sucks, but I still believe the talent's there. You still could get a couple more years out of, I think, both of them actually. So I think it's maybe 1 more year for both, and then obviously after that, I'm either trying to make a swing move during the season or at the end of the season to bolster or just kind of rebuild the team.
That's definitely a good take there for sure. I think obviously please don't try to sell these guys now. I think you're better off waiting until the next season starts, the hype gets back up there. I'd be looking to sell off on these guys at this point. McCaffrey will be 26, Cook will be 27, I believe, or maybe 28. I have to look, but it isn't something I want to be a part of right now. To me, when it comes to injury running backs, it's just better to get out of it, to me personally. And I'm just you know what? Go young, get draft picks, get what you can, but wait until this closer to the rookie draft, maybe closer to the regular season where you can just load up on 2023 picks and go nuts in your dynasty leagues. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up with those 2 guys because they're definitely big, important dynasty pieces that people just kind of probably want to know what to do with. So let's see here. Dan Arnold, knee injury, out 4 to 6 weeks. He's basically done the rest of our fantasy season. The Cowboys are considering giving Zeke some rest. They do play Thursday, but nothing has been confirmed or denied yet on that. Aaron Rodgers will have to get surgery on his toe. I believe he's doing that, honestly, this week, but it shouldn't stop him from playing in Sunday's game, so that's interesting. And then this big news that broke a little bit, not big news, but a little bit ago, DeAndre Swift likely out for week 13 with his injury that he suffered on Thanksgiving. So definitely some high-power running backs going out, definitely a top-tier wide receiver on the fritz. But that's why we're here, guys, to give you guys waiver wire pickup advice so you can help win your fantasy weeks. So, Jibs, we'll start right here at the top. Quarterback pickups, Jibs. Who do you guys your top QB pickup
And like it's kind of the same people every single week, but I'm taking a chance on Taysom Hill just because like I know I could get out of too. I know he's probably like my second choice just based off like I know he could get the most of the attempts. Mac Jones has been like up and down. Like I love him to play right now, but I just don't think like he's sustainable for a fantasy asset. But like for Taysom Hill, we've seen last year when he had the rain and we saw this guy run like for like 4 or 5 games, like basically almost double digit carries, and he could throw the ball. And like Simeon's has been playing horrible, so like, and the Saints offense did not look good. But I think Taysom Hill can move around in the pocket. He could probably sustain or even like elevate the receivers in a way so they could get some um, a little bit more open on some wild plays that he's scrambling on. So I think Taysom Hill could be a better suited fit for the Saints because you know that franchise is all about winning and they just want to win. They don't care about our fantasy points. But Taysom Hill is a guy who could provide crazy amount of fantasy points, although it kind of takes a hit on the running backs. But I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, no, I guess I didn't mention this during the news portion, but Taysom Hill is onward to start this Thursday night over Trevor Simeon. Though he also has an injury that's been really nagging him too. So uh, honestly, the injury part came first, and I was like, well, there goes Taysom Hill's chance. And then news broke that Taysom Hill is likely to start Thursday. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But I mean, if Taysom Hill can run the ball, obviously his fantasy value we saw last year was gold for fantasy. So yeah, I love that pick there, Jibs. Definitely a good matchup against the Cowboys. Should be much of a shootout kind of game. So hopefully Taysom Hill is healthy enough to be able to have that rushing upside we love in his game. So on my side, guys, I went with Tyler Heineke. For me, Tyler Heineke has been solid all season. I mean, he's got 6 QB1 performances this season so far. If he has another good game against Seattle, which I think he should tonight, he should be able to have a pretty decent game against the Raiders last week. Dak, just destroyed that Raiders offense without their top two off weapons. And guy like Tyler Heineke, he's getting Logan Thomas back. He's getting Curtis Samuel back this week. If they can be healthy through this week and make it into next week, he's got probably his best weapon core since maybe week one. And I don't know if he even had Curtis Samuel week one. I don't think he did. So yeah, this is things are looking up for Tyler Heineke. If you're looking for just a 1 week replacement, someone to get you by for the week, I don't think there's a ton of quarterbacks this week that were like must start players. Tyler Heineke could give you at least a decent floor option or high ceiling option that you're looking for in fantasy right now. All right, a couple others, Jibs. Jared Goff is always an option out there. It's not a great option, but I believe he plays the Vikings, who were like been terrible against the pass. Especially Patrick Peterson has just gone on the COVID list. Jimmy G, they play Seattle this week. Seattle's defense is so far. Tyrod Taylor plays Houston, plays the Colts, their defense isn't that great. Tua, Jibs mentioned Tua already. He's just on that 40% cusp, so I didn't really mention him as a waiver wire guy, but he would probably be my top pickup personally. And then Justin Fields, I mean, if you believe in his rushing upside, there's always something there for him. So again, the same guys we've been kind of talking about over the last few weeks, Jibs. So nothing too great. But the running backs, Jibs, that is something to take note here, because the running backs are weird. Because you guys all know we only do 40% and under ownership. So guys like Alexander Madison, um, Jamal Williams, those two guys would probably be top tier pickups if you're looking for week 13. Oh yeah, week 13 play for sure at the top of your list. They should be top priorities, big spending of almost basically whatever you have left, especially Alexander Madison. And then we go into the actual under the 30% chip. So I'm gonna let you start it off here. I assume I know who your first pickup is, but who's your number one pickup this week?
I'm going Boston Scott,
Ooh, okay.
and like I watched the game and it was I'm still sick about it, but Miles Sanders did get a little nicked up with a little foot or ankle injury, and like I know this guy, like he's a warrior and he wants to be on the football field, but like even so, I know with the ways the Eagles running the ball, I think there could be room for two people, but in the offense running the ball, like Boston Scott per se, but with Miles Sanders being out, I think that his total output could be limited not to his like full degree. So I think Boston Scott filling in has shown last couple of weeks is scoring touchdowns. I know he did fumble the ball, which led to basically like a second to last drive, which kind of costed us. But I think he could still run the ball pretty well, and I like the matchup against the Jets next week. So
As do I. Only concern is Jordan Howard if he comes back from that knee injury, if he gets back worked into this rotation here. Is Sanders out? You mentioned
no,
something.
he's Nick Sirianni says he's optimistic that he
Okay.
comes back.
Well, I hope he's not out. I must have missed that one today on my news board. So okay, well, again, I think Boston Scott's a great option. Honestly, he's played well when he's seen a majority of the workload this season here, and the Jets are one of the worst teams versus running backs this year. So it's kind of a good play if you're looking for some kind of help at running back, especially if you lost some big time guys. My next one would have to be here. Let me just double check on one thing for somebody here. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Here we go. I'm probably gonna go with. Damn, this is a tough one, Jibs. Honestly, I really don't know which way to go here.
Just give them all. It don't matter.
Chuba Hubbard is obviously a clear pickup. Obviously, guys, clear pickup. He's filling over in from Christian McCaffrey, but I'd be hesitant to want to go get Chuba Hubbard. He's on a bye this week, so it doesn't help you out this week. And then he's got tough matchups the rest of the season. This is what I wanted to look up first. He's got Buffalo. He's got Tampa. He's got New Orleans. He's got Tampa again. Again, the second Tampa is week 18. So the fantasy playoff for a guy like Chuba Hubbard is not great. I think if you're like desperate at running back, he's obviously a clear candidate because he's going to get opportunity. But a guy like Amir Abdullah saw 4 targets last week in their loss for the Carolina Panthers, and he's been involved in that offense here. And it's, to me, I think you should let somebody else go out and get Chuba Hubbard and don't spend your fab on it. I mean, I know we're talking about picking up players, but he's a clear option to pick up because his opportunity is about to grow back to what we saw early on in the season. But I'd be hesitant if you're looking like, oh, I'm going to get this. He's going to be a top-tier running back once again, or a top and RB2, but I'd be hesitant on that. But he's definitely a clear pickup if you're in a desperate need at running back this week. So, Jibs, do you have another one you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I would definitely take a stab at Dontrell Hilliard, even if he's on his bye this week. If you have the roster spot and you could just kind of have some wiggle room, I'll definitely add him on the team. The guy's been uber productive on his touches the last 2 weeks. And I guess Matt Breida will be like my third low-hanging option. I know that Buffalo Bills running back rotation has been crazy over the last month. Like, we've seen Matt Breida come alive, and he's been the most consistent cog. Otherwise, we know Devin Singletary is basically getting most of the running back snaps, but Matt Breida is just putting in the work, and he has all the points to show for it. So another interesting thing would be to see how Zach Moss, that situation comes along with the surprise inactive Thursday. If he becomes back on the roster, obviously it kind of throws a ratchet in that situation. But I still go Matt Breida if I'm starting a Bills running back at this point.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was definitely going to mention Matt Breida for sure. Who was the other guy you mentioned? Oh, Hilliard. Yeah, Hilliard is a great option too. Deontay Foreman, if he's still sitting out there, both are good pickups. Both probably, again, they're on their bye week, so they're not going to help you this week. But if you can grab these guys, at least hold on to them. That offense needs some kind of spark, and they showed something this past week here. It will be interesting to see if Jeremy McNichols comes back and it kind of disrupts that. But both guys show some upside that I'd want to hold on to my team or pick up if you can. And like Jib said, Matt Breida. I think Matt Breida, he's like a wild card because he only played like 24% of the snaps against the Saints, but he just was electric when he had his opportunity. And they do play the New England Patriots, who I believe are the fifth most fifth most rushing yards this season to running backs. So like Matt Breida is definitely a big boom bust flex play this week for sure. If Devin Singletary's out there, you might want to pick him up. For sure. Zach Moss, who knows what's going on with that situation there. 2 healthy scratches now. That's just weird this season. So another guy I guess I'll throw out there for you guys, Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman. That kind of mixture for the Jets this coming week here. They do play the Eagles. Eagles are kind of so-so against running backs this season so far. And both kind of, Tevin Coleman is more of a, if you're looking for a standard league, hopefully you can get him going. If, the Jets decide to switch off, maybe put Mike White back in or stick with Zach Wilson, depending on his health, Ty Johnson and PPR should kind of rebound from pretty poor performance this past week. Again, the Eagles are a favorable matchup to some extent for the Jets, so again, that's another option. But these guys are like 8 or 9 fantasy points ceilings. They're not really big. Sony Michel's still out there if you're looking for him. Maybe Alex Collins is swirling out there somewhere. DJ Dallas, if you could pick up DJ Dallas before tonight's game, maybe you have one of those weird situations where you can drop a player. Maybe he gets going this week as a player. Alex Collins has dealt with injuries, and it seems like most of the Seattle backfield is pretty banged up besides DJ Dallas. The Houston running backs, if you want to take a shot at one of those guys, I mean, Rex Burkhead played not good either. Neither did David Johnson. Let's see. Yeah, Jordan Howard, like Jim mentioned Boston Scott, but Jordan Howard could be coming back this week. He seemed to be a part of the offense that the coaches seem to like. And the last one, I can't pronounce his name, but he's the rookie for the Minnesota Vikings, Kiki Kini. I can't even say his last name. I'm not going to try, but it's Kene on the Minnesota Vikings here. He's electric. He was one of those guys who had the 100-yard kick return. And if Dalvin Cook is obviously out, maybe they try to work him in on some special plays to kind of get the offense moving big time. So he could be worthy of a pickup if you're trying to find somebody for you this week. There's some decent running back options for once. Last week was really shitty. This week has some hitters, especially if those guys like Madison and Williams are sitting out there under that 60, 70% ownership mark. All right, Jib. So let's head over to the wide receivers here. Now, who's your wide receiver pickup of the week?
Kendrick Bourne.
I love it.
And yeah, he's been mentioned on the show plenty of times throughout this year. And I'm not like maybe I'm kind of chasing points because like the guy scored 2 touchdowns last week on 5 catches or so, and he hasn't had like that big of like a receiving yards over the last like 3 weeks. 42-61. He had 98 yards 3 weeks ago. So like there's gonna be some risk starting him, but like I think he's definitely going to be having some trouble against his Buffalo Bills defenders, but the plus side is Tre'Davious White, so I figured Kendrick Bourne's probably going to be working on the perimeter, unlike Jacoby Myers, and he'll probably will benefit for Tre'Davious White being lost for the season. So I think the matchup wouldn't be as bad as it seems on paper. So I like Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, no, Kendrick Bourne was probably my number one pickup here too. I mentioned him on the Start and Shit show last week as a sleeper, and he came out pretty well. The only thing is he only plays like around like 45, 50% of the snaps. Again, it was a favorable matchup, so maybe in a situation where they have to pass more could be big. And this is a tough matchup against the Bills, but I don't think he's going to be their number one worry. It's going to be Jacoby Myers. It's going to be Nelson Aguilar, where I think Kendrick Bourne, how they use him in that offense there is worthy of a pickup if you're looking for wide receiver help or even a flex option for you. That's honestly one of my favorite pick strips because I had him as one of my top guys. Let's see here. I'm gonna go Josh Reynolds.
Don't you
not,
say?
Not Jalen Rieger. Josh Reynolds for the Detroit Lions here, and I really thought Amon St. Brown was going to really take a step this year, and he hasn't yet, unfortunately. But Josh Reynolds has shown that big playability last week for the Detroit Lions. He has a chemistry with Jared Goff in their time in LA. And the Lions, if I'm not mistaken, they play the Minnesota Vikings, who, if I'm correct, the Minnesota Vikings are bottom five in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers this season. They've been destroyed all year against wide receivers. And in a matchup where you lose DeAndre Swift, a guy who's seeing like 8 or 9 targets a game, that might open up more targets for the wide receivers this week. Again, Amon St. Brown is a nice deep sleeper guy if you're looking for that. But Josh Reynolds seems to, see the snap counts, see the targets in this offense here, and has a connection with the quarterback. If you're looking for wide receiver help, Josh Reynolds, I think, could provide you somewhat of a flexible play for you, especially for this week in fantasy. All right, Jibs, who's your number 2 guy?
He was my number 2, so I'm still sticking with the guy with still low ownership with Russell Gage. Like the guy had 18 points last week. I know it was against the Jaguars, and he's going against the Tampa Bay Bucks. But like with most teams, like the Colts are a totally running team the whole season, and they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they start throwing like a mofo. So I think the Falcons are going to have to do the same. So instead of running the ball, or obviously they're going to use Cordell Patterson, I think they're going to have to pass to keep up in the game. So Russell Gage probably got another bounce back performance and show more consistency.
I like that out there a lot. I mean, he has produced in 4 of his last 6 games, so that's a good sign. So I like that.
Crazy.
Crazy, crazy. So my number 2 is probably going to be Traquan Smith from the New Orleans Saints. It's a little tougher now because if Taysom Hill does play, that does lower his value. But I expect it to be somewhat of a shootout game. Traquan has been kind of the number 1 wide receiver this season here at this point since coming back. In the last 3 games he has seen, and 2 of them at least 7 targets. I don't know if that changes with Taysom Hill taking over as the quarterback now, but someone has to catch the balls in that offense there. I don't think they're going to be able to run it consistently enough for them to use Taysom Hill on the run constantly. And I think if Taysom Hill continues to run the ball, he might end up injuring himself even more than what he is currently. So, which would mean Trevor Siemian could get back in at some point. So, which would help obviously Traquan Smith's value. He's like their number 1 and he's really a wide receiver 3. So, kind of don't like it. The wide receiver is a little bit weaker this week for sure. But if you're looking for other guys, I mean, Curtis Samuel, if he plays tonight, that's definitely an interesting option. MVS and Randall Cobb from the Packers have been producing a little bit more as of lately. That is something I've been looking into. Rondale Moore, see if they can get him more involved in this offense here following the bye week. But I do know that Hopkins and Murray are looking to come back this week. Any of the Titans wide receivers that are available currently, maybe Julio Jones just got dropped. Who knows? Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, those guys have probably been dropped plenty of leagues so far this season. They might be coming back sooner than later. Sterling Shepard, T.Y. Hilton, maybe Deshaun Jackson. Some of these guys here could help you if in a pinch if you need to. Again, the wide receivers aren't that great. So, all right, Jib. So let's head over to the tight ends now because there are some tight ends. So who's your tight end pickup of the week?
I'll go with Cole Kmet, but just give another name. Who's yours?
Well, mine's different because if Darren Waller doesn't play, Foster Moreau has to be my number 1 pickup at tight end. I mean, he produced again. It was against the Eagles, so it was a good matchup for him. But it seems like they like the funnel of the tight end in this offense here. So it's tough to pick him up because if you're in need at tight end. Or if you have someone you like, but you may want to get somebody else, Foster Moreau is the perfect guy to pick up mid. And then if by Friday if Darren Waller is playing, you just drop him at that point there. But I guess if you had to give me 1 guy to pick up Jibs, I might go James O'Shaughnessy. Just like a weird name out there, but we already learned that Dan Arnold is now out 4 to 6 weeks. And James O'Shaughnessy, I've been a fan of him. I feel like at times he has produced fantasy numbers. Trevor Lawrence seems to love a third of the tight ends this year. And if I could find out what he just did this past week here, it would be great. Where's his numbers at here? I mean, he came back for his first game of the season. He was 3 for 5 for 29 yards. Not great, but they do play the Rams next week, which they're going to probably need to throw the ball more than what they already had to do this past week here. So he could be an option for you. I know people probably don't know the name, so they might not like to lean that direction. I get it, but he's likely to see 5 or 6 targets and could see maybe 40 yards in the game. Again, it's a tight end, so you're not getting gold out of this. So, but he's a decent option for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just gonna this headline. Like, I probably would consider grabbing Cole Kmet if he's on the waiver wire, but for like a nice contrarian pick, like for your whole season as it's going down to the end, including some playoff games, definitely look into Evan Ingram. I know, like, offensively, like, you kind of don't want to trust the Giants and their rotational in and out of the lineup with the wide receivers, but Evan Ingram, even though for tight ends, like, it's a modest production, but he has an amazing schedule moving forward. He plays the Dolphins, Los Angeles, Dallas, Philly again. Matchups like those are kind of enticing. So I wouldn't want to leave on your waiver wire for someone else to come pick him up and play it against you. But I think there's going to be some production moving forward with Evan Ingram. So if you want to stop streaming, get that guy. If you just want to keep streaming, go get Cole Kmet. That's what I'm kind of saying.
I like it. I like the difference in that for sure. Evan Ingram, I can't see to pick him up. He's just disappointed me too much this season. But I get your take on it. So some other options. What was that?
Pick them both up.
Pick them both up if you can. There's definitely some interesting options at tight end. Obviously, the Browns tight ends are interesting, but they're on a bye, so you really don't want to deal with those guys this week. Jack Doyle stepped up big time against the Bucks, and they do play the Houston Texans this coming week, who are pretty bad against tight ends. Uh, in deeper leagues, Brevin Jordan, he kind of stood out a little bit in this past week. They do play the Colts. Colts are pretty bad against tight ends as well. Tyler Conklin is always a good option. Jonas Smith had his first good game of the season, I think. Maybe that's a sign of things to come.
The apocalypse.
And yeah, probably. And if Gerald Everett can show another good performance this week, he could be worthy of a streaming option for you as a tight end. So definitely better than the wide receivers, I'll tell you that. So, but we do have some keeping cut questions here now, guys, and I'm going off the last 3 or 4 weeks now in terms of their fantasy points overall, and I'm gonna say, do we keep these guys or are we getting rid of them at this point here? So let's see if I can find some of these guys here real quick. Tough. I had it all planned out, but now I can't seem to find it at all. If J.D. McKissic has another bad game tonight, Jibs, are you done with him?
Yeah, I'll be done with him.
Yeah, definitely.
Just can't pinpoint like when it's gonna happen.
That's true. That is true. Let's see here.
Matchup for him.
It's definitely a good matchup for him. If Alex Collins plays poor tonight, do you drop him?
Yeah, I'll be done with him. Even though he's a body who gets 10 like rush attempts per game, I just don't want that 4 points. I'd rather just gamble somewhere else.
Same here. Let's see. Trying to think of anyone else here at this point. I mean, I feel like a lot of people I was going to mention have opportunity now, like Jamal Williams. I think we can pretty much be done with Mike Davis, right? If anyone hasn't dropped him already.
Yeah.
Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, do it.
I'm done with those guys for sure. All right, yeah. So there's not a lot of running backs I'm willing to drop here, but let's see about some wide receivers here. Let's see. Do you drop Odell, or do you like what you saw last week to keep him?
I'll keep him.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to him as well. What about Rashad Bateman? Kind of, 20 points over his last 3 games. Hasn't really took that step yet, or are you still waiting out hope?
I'll keep him. Like, he's still involved in the offense. Lamar's just kind of blowing it. Especially last night.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Laviska Shenault didn't really step up since this.
Yeah, he was my sleeper last week. He's getting cut.
He's getting cut. Brandon Cooks, 14 points over his last 2 games.
I'm going to keep him. He's still got to kind of just hope that offense kind of mellows through what they're going through right now.
Okay. What about any of the Cardinals wide receivers besides DeAndre Hopkins? Do you keep these guys? They had 2 bad weeks. They all had basically 2 bad weeks. Do you keep these guys?
It depends if Kyler Murray comes back. And then if he doesn't come back, I'll probably cut them all.
Yeah, kind of on the same, but I'd probably keep Christian Kirk still because he has been producing. But yeah, like Rondale Moore, I know he's a pickup, but he's also could be a cut candidate as well. Let's see here. What about if DK Metcalf comes out with another dud game?
DK, what? Crazy.
I'm just saying he's got 9 points over 3 games. Would that ever concern you to drop him?
You're smoking. No.
I'm just saying. What about Kenny G? Are you done with Kenny?
Drop to the bench.
I'm just saying. What about any of the Denver Broncos wide receivers? Portland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy.
Well, he ain't back next week. They're all out.
I think
I'll keep Jeudy, but like the rest of them are. Sutton's basically a drop candidate with his performances. And Drew Lock threw the ball 4 times after Teddy got hurt.
Yeah, Teddy's bagged up, but he should be okay.
Lord hammer.
Yeah, I'm okay dropping them if you need to. If you're looking to pick up a running back that you're just restarting this week, I'm cool dropping these guys because Jerry Jeudy's the best wide receiver at 75. That's how I feel about it. Like, Ray McLeod has more fantasy points.
Oh my god! I traded Sutton for Chase Edmonds just so I get a running back for the playoffs.
Oh yeah, Chase Edmonds should be coming back soon, so that's another one. Just keep your eye on him. He's out there on waivers. Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley.
Sanders, yes.
I'm okay dropping any of them, honestly.
Yeah, too. I don't really want to mess with them.
Yeah, no, you could drop them all three, and all two of them, and I'm okay with any of that. So, all right, and then needs to see if there's anyone at the tight end position that I don't know, maybe people are holding on to. Um, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Is Kyle Pitts a droppable candidate? Like,
He's droppable, but like you still ain't gonna find much better or Tyson things on the waiver wire, so you're most suited keeping him.
yeah, I feel like if you kept him this long, you're keeping him for the rest of the season at this point. But he has only 16 fantasy points over his last 3 games, so yeah.
Like 8-man leagues, sure.
Yeah, even I guess 10-man leagues. I guess I don't know. 10-man leagues, he's fine too. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. What about Dallas Goedert? 13 fantasy points over his last 3 games. Like, would you pick up any? Would you drop Dallas Goedert for any of the tight ends that we just talked about today?
Maybe Komet. That's about it.
What
Like
about?
depending on the week, but Dallas Goedert has an amazing schedule as well. So
He does.
it's
I
just the
think
Eagles are just uber run heavy right now. So
I think you hold out hope that it comes back from him. Mike Gesicki, 10 fantasy points over his last 3 games.
Yeah, he's gone.
I mean, I don't. If you unless you're desperate looking for you need to have a win now situation. That's the only way. Like, I don't know what are these tight ends I trust more than Mike Gesicki anyway. So it's like you're looking for like a deep shot, like maybe Foster Moreau if Darren Waller's out, or like Jack Doyle as because of his amazing matchup. That's the only way I could consider that if I was going to, but I'd probably still hang on to him. And CJ Uzomah, guys, if he's been kind of quiet the last few weeks, but he does have a great matchup this week against the Los Angeles Chargers. So if he could be also worthy of a pickup too, I just want to throw that out there. So
yeah, he's been quiet the last couple of weeks.
Sure has, but yeah. But that's going to wrap up our show today, guys. We definitely thank you guys for listening in. As always, we love doing this. You know, it's fun. Glad the season's coming to an end, though, because this has been a lot of work to kind of keep up on everything and do the podcast. They take a lot of time and effort, but we hope some of you guys at least are enjoying it and like using what we're saying, they're helping you out, and hopefully they're getting you closer and closer to a championship win. As always, guys, we'll be back on Thursday for our start and sit show, and then we'll basically be here through the rest of this month here until we take a little bit of a little vacation month, we like to call it. So, but as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. If you have any fantasy questions, waiver wire pickups, trades, whatever it may be, we're here to help you guys out. And as always, you can follow me and Coach Shibs on Twitter at Coach Stephen P.
Hot take Contra.
Hot take Contra. So enjoy your Monday Night Football, guys. Hopefully your waiver wires go great, and we'll see you on Thursday.